This is the Antonovsky Bridge, the only bridge leading out of Kherson city for Russians. And supposedly this is a video of Russians themselves blowing it up tonight, leaving up to 20,000 Russians trapped in Kherson city, between Russian forces and the Dnieper river. Buckle up, my friends, because today is going to be wild. All of the clips you see here come from last night or today, around Kherson region. There is too much footage to show, so many liberated settlements, so much captured Russian equipment, and so much destroyed Russian equipment. I will try to show you as much as I can. Russian High Command stated the orderly withdrawal of Kherson city and surrounding areas over the Dnieper river. But according to the info going around Russian Telegram channels tonight and yesterday, there is nothing orderly about this. It's panic. Sheer bloody panic. Ukrainian forces have been advancing with incredible speed throughout the night. We cannot talk about Russian defensive lines anymore around Kherson region because there is none. This footage comes from Ischenka and Staritsa, and that was hours ago. Ukrainians have advanced even further now. Here are these settlements. This photo comes from Novakers. We see advancements from all sides. This is a video of something very big flying and connecting to the ground near the Antonovsky Bridge, and a huge explosion. We can only assume there were concentrations of Russian troops gathered there because the bridge has been destroyed by the Russians, but they want to get over the river to not get killed or captured, so they concentrate around the bridge only to find out it's destroyed and then to be destroyed themselves by the Ukrainian artillery who is targeting the area. It's a rout. I made an outline of things, what happened last night, how Ukrainians got to the point where they are now, but before I give it to you, today we have a sponsor. Let's go. History Mail is a great gift for history buffs who love the lost art of letter writing. History Mail was started by a group of history enthusiasts who relished the idea of getting letters from historical figures weekly, almost as if directly from Benjamin Franklin's or Thomas Edison's desk straight to yours. Every week a stamped envelope is delivered to your doorstep, containing the reproduction of a letter penned by a historical figure, supported by a document providing historical context, and a typed version of the letter. They offer 10 weekly letters for only $59.99, but they also have letter packs for 25 letters, and a yearly pack of 52 letters, for more in-depth exploration of various historical periods. History Mail helps to plant a tree with every order, and raise funds to support global afforestation efforts. They support global charities like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to help with their afforestation operations. History Mail's American History Gift Pack covers letters from 1776, with the founding of the Republic, all the way to 1976, with the Cold War at its height. For example, this is a letter from Walt Disney to Richard Nixon. Cool, right? And this is a condolence letter from Queen Victoria to Mrs. Mary Todd Lincoln. Queen Victoria writes to her as a friend, not as a queen, revealing her own mourning of her late lost husband, Prince Albert. A rare glimpse at the inner life of Queen Victoria. It is the best gift to give a history lover. If you gift the letters to someone and wish to surprise them, then you can send them a beautiful personalized gift certificate with your name and the receiver's name on it. The best way to surprise your loved ones, from your friends to your parents. Click the link in the description below or go to historymail.com/Estonian69, and when you order, use the code Estonian69 to get 10% off of each order. Happy exploring. I also want to let you guys know that I just did a podcast with operator Starsky, links in the description below. It was a lot of fun. Subscribe to my podcast channel to be notified about future podcasts. What happened last night? On the evening of November 10th, Ukrainian sabotage groups landed on the left bank of Dnieper near Novakhovka and hit the Russians crossing there. We're talking about Ukrainians crossing the Dnieper river, but this is only the beginning. Part of the motorized riflemen of the Russian army left their positions and equipment and retreated to the left bank of the Dnieper using motorboats. Basically, they abandoned their posts and equipment. At the same evening, at the same time, Ukrainian offensive of pushing from all sides towards Kherson began. Prior to this, separate military formations of the armed forces of Ukraine occupied Chernobyevka. This is a vitally important airfield area only 3 kilometers from Kherson city. Ukrainian special forces surrounded Kherson and other special forces units infiltrated into the city. The motorized rifle units of the Russian Federation in Kherson and in the area finally received an order to retreat, and the entire mass of the Russian forces started to move towards the Dnieper under Ukrainian fire. Somewhere at that time, the Antonovsky Bridge was blown up and about 15 to 20,000 Russian troops supposedly are trapped in Kherson. Let me remind you, there's a lot of fog of war. I'm only reporting what I see from Telegram. These reports can be false, they can be true. We don't know until time passes. If Ukraine liberates the whole of the western bank of Dnieper River, they also liberate Novogorhovka and the water reservoir and the water canal that runs from this reservoir straight to Crimea. The entire Crimean Peninsula is fully dependent on this water reservoir and the water canal. In 2014, when Russia occupied Crimea, Ukraine closed this canal and Crimea started to turn into a desert. This is a huge problem for Putin. This was one of his main goals in occupying Ukraine, to get his hands on this water reservoir to continue supplying Crimea with water. Well, I'm sure Ukrainians will block the canal again, continuing the desertification of Crimea. A huge blow to Russian occupation of Crimea. Russian Telegram channels are filled with the worst scenario predictions, including 10 to 20,000 Russian troops trapped in Kherson and the possibility that these troops could just surrender to the Ukrainians. All the way up to that Ukrainians have already established a bridgehead over the Dnipro River, and from Ukrainian Telegram channels we know that this has already happened by the special forces of Ukraine. So the Ukrainians are not stopping with Kherson, they are immediately using the momentum and establishing bridgeheads for further assault operations over the Dnipro to liberate southern Ukraine and Crimea. This is not a limited operation of only one bank of the Dnieper River. I'm sure Ukrainians use the momentum to their favor. Let's jump to the military map to look at the situation. 10th of November, we will scroll ahead and the counterattack begins now. You see, Russians are retreating, Ukrainians are gaining ground very fast. I'm assuming they're driving full throttle. As we can see what happened here, a lot of Russians crossed from the Novogorhovka, all of these little piggy symbols here. This is the Novogorhovka bridge. They crossed here with motorboats. Ukrainian special forces supposedly crossed the river around here and hit them crossing. And also we see the same thing here, large concentrations of Russian troops near the Antonovsky Bridge. The Antonovsky Bridge supposedly is destroyed and these troops are still here in Kherson. There's no other bridge. This railway bridge also supposedly is destroyed, so these troops are trapped. And as you can see, most of the western bank already liberated, and Kherson city is surrounded according to Russian and Ukrainian Telegram channels. This is Chernobyevka. Ukrainian special forces took this settlement already almost 24 hours ago, and special forces are also already in Kherson city, so this city will be liberated within a few days, unless we see some fanatical resistance from the Russians. This is the Novogorhovka water reservoir. This is the canal that feeds the entire Crimean Peninsula. Ukraine will just block it off from here as they did in 2014 if they take this area. And supposedly special forces have established a bridgehead here, so I'm sure they are able to do it as fast as possible. This is the reaction of Russia's top propagandist Solovyov to Russian failures on the battlefield. He is so very angry at the government that is paying him millions of USD to brainwash Russian people. He should really think at who he is angry with. He cannot be angry at his government. I mean, he's a propagandist. He is the one responsible for the lying, and now he's so angry that people are lying in his military. Well, the lying begins with him, so Finland is getting ready. They know Russia don't like them going into NATO, and they're fortifying their border with Russia. Let's watch the video together.
On a rainy day in Helsinki, the Finnish army is building a bunker. As Finland continues its bid to join NATO, and as the Ukraine war drags on, the country has been further fortifying its border with Russia. There's growing fear of retaliation from Moscow. Major Petteri Vatanen is supervising this operation.
We have an exercise where we are constructing readiness constructions, little fortifications, where we practice the whole chain, how do we build these things from the beginning to the actual construction. This is, if I use the word really strong, it lasts direct hit from artillery or nearby hit from missiles or shots. So it lasts tens of kilos of explosives. They are really robust.
This isn't just about fears of a military incursion, though. Finland's NATO bid has caused it to fear that retaliation could come in the form of Russia sending a flood of migrants to the border with the goal of destabilizing the country, similar to the crisis on the border between Poland and Belarus last year. In the coming months, Finland's government is expected to authorize its border guard to construct new fencing along over 150 miles of its 800-mile border with Russia. They expect it will take 3 or 4 years to complete.
I feel like all of the EU-sided countries are doing this with the Russian border. Poland is doing with Kaliningrad, Finland is doing with the Russian border. Estonia is also right now, as we speak, building up a wall or a fence, however you call it, on the Russian border. Everybody wants something in between them and Russia. I cannot blame them for it. My friends, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming back. I'll keep you posted on what's happening in Ukraine. Things are going to be very exciting in the next few days. Go and check out my podcast with operator Starsky. It's in the description below. And subscribe to the channel. It's hard to start a new channel, so help get it going. If you want to keep up with my personal life, Instagram is the best way to do it. Link also in the description below, as well as Patreon if you want to support the channel. Until my next video, my friends, Slava Ukraini!